welcome everybody to the NWO show, your source for all things New World. So, we do have some really cool stuff for you guys today. So yesterday, through a comical of errors, we were able to snag a video that was not originally designed for the public. That video is currently playing. IGN managed to release the wrong video, apparently. So we caught on, snapped to it, and got it early. So effectively, that's that. There's about I think about 4 minutes of this that's different than what you would see in the video that's actually out there. So that's why we are saying, hey, exclusive stuff. Only here, we're the only ones that got it. Because, well, I got tools that just download that stuff. So with that, I'm also joined by McLeod here. McLeod, go ahead and say hi.
Hey guys, my name's McLeod. I don't know whether you actually did your intro or anything like that, but I mean, if people don't know me, I'm a professional audio engineer. I'm also a content developer, and I've done community moderation experience with raid-style MMOs before. So I know the mindset, I know the kind of like the lengths that some player groups and players go to in those particular games. But I'm also a decade veteran of EVE Online, and so because of that, I've also done podcasts and stuff there, and done high level critique for that, and that's where like A's and myself know each other from.
So to clarify, why we can say this is exclusive is because this is not the same video that IGN has on their sites. So, although yes, some of this gameplay was shown on there, this is basically extended gameplay of that wasn't on IGN. It was only up for about 45 seconds before they pulled it down. So, yeah. So with that, some of the other things that we're going to cover tonight, we've got the Joe Online, a French review that's actually really worth looking at. I'm gonna paste it for people who want to look at it. It's a pretty good interview. A lot of actually really good details. So one of the big ones is that it's Scott talking, so Scott's gonna say more than most of the other ones because he knows exactly where that line is and what he's willing to talk about and all that. Some of the key things they talked about: server size between 1,000 and 3,000 concurrent users. So that's a lot of people online at one time, and a pretty decent sized map. There's stuff where they clarify some of the stuff that leaked. Where they talk about, hey, when they say there's not going to be any new content between where they're at right now and where they're, where the end launch state's going to be, they're referring to major mechanics. So things like they're not going to add in like a new, different type of invasion mechanic. They're going to refine mechanics that exist currently, and they're going to add to the repertoire that's already in there. So that's what they're talking about when it comes to that. Also, they're going to continue to hammer down on bugs, because that's what you do in an alpha. And by the time they get to beta, which is July 23rd, for those that don't know, they're going to have a pretty solid product where they're going to be looking at mass testing and stress testing their equipment, and stress testing their the fundamental mechanics of, okay, hey, do these work when you put 3,000 people into the same map? That's what the beta is designed for. What the alpha is designed for is you're aiming for, hey, what bugs do we have? Do the fundamental systems feel good? Do they function? When you swing your hammer, does it apply damage? Does it apply damage to the person in front of you versus does it apply damage to the guy 40 feet away from you? Some of the stuff that's in the other interviews, they talked about, the ability to trade money between characters. And one of the things that came up is that through an error that happened, you were able to send a negative amount of money. And instead of the system resulting in you can't do that, it resulted in giving you $1 billion, or about 80 or 800 million or so, which is funny. And they admitted to that, like, hey, that's something we found. That's what alpha testing is for. How can we break the game so that we can report it and say, hey, this is how we can fix it? That's the cool thing about this. So for the people that are like, oh, it's just early access, no. If you're like, hey, I want to get in the alpha because it's just an early trial of the game, wait till beta.
And I will say this: I have been on early beta sort of raid MMO kind of thing, and a lot of groups just tend to see it as the ability to play how they've always played, but just early access kind of thing. And to some degree that's expected, because they want to test out people taking things to the nth degree. They want people to try and break it, but this is the distinction. They want people to actually report the bugs that they find and the great game breaking elements that when taken to the fullest extent that they could be taken to. They want people to actually get in touch with them and tell them about it, because if you don't, then all you're doing is you're playing an MMO how you would normally play an MMO, not actually trying to contribute to the game actually becoming better.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Exactly. So you got to go into it with a different mentality than you would go into like a game like Rust, where it's going to be an alpha for 10 years and that kind of thing. Like it's going to be different.
Because I tell you, it's and Apollo will let you know as well that MMO groups of MMO players and the groups that they congregate in, nothing is sacred to them.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes down to it, nothing is sacred to them when it's about getting one up on another group, right? They will cross a boundary that you wouldn't think people would cross.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that's worth talking about is obviously the developers felt that major changes had to take place from the first alpha to the second alpha. Whether or not that's the case, like whether or not that's the best thing for the game is yet to be seen.
Well, the thing is like, if you're gonna have PvP elements in any game, you're gonna get competitive nature between people. Like that's just human nature, right?
Yes.
So whenever that competitive edge occurs, you will start to get people who go too far, who break the boundaries, who break what people consider to be to be the limit. They'll go through that limit because it gives them an edge, an advantage, or something like that. And I'm not just talking about people who find hacks on online and use them in order to get unfair advantages, but it's everything. It's sort of using glitches that they know about and trying not to tell other groups about it. Like it's all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. And clearly people took things too far in the first alpha. Like, they've said it in a number of dev blogs that, hey, people were just murking newbies.
Well, it wasn't just people murking newbies, it was people utilizing game bugs, not telling them about those game bugs in order to get advantages over them. Yes. That's not in the spirit of the alpha.
Yeah. So there's a lot of those things. I can already tell you step 2 is profit. Gain an advantage, utilize it. Now, in a That's so true.
I
Act
we
like
had
you're
we had
just
people
good. Yeah.
we had people doing I distinctly remember like playing a few games with like some of my buddies, and we were we were recruiting people, etc to various things, and we just thought this guy was pretty damn good at FPS games. Like, it didn't occur to us that in actual fact he was using third party software. And it just so happened that like we I think it was the he got suspended, or like one of his accounts got banned, and we were like trying to smooth it over with the developers of the game, and kind of going, well, it could it have been a false positive kind of thing, like, do you think maybe you had a piece of software on your computer that may have thrown up a false positive? And he was there kind of going, scratching his head, kind of going, I mean, maybe, kind of things. And so we were pressing him about it, like, well, what kind of software do you think would have done that, etc etc. And he's like, and then the sort of the penny dropped, right, where he was like, well, I do have this hacking software, but I only use it for CS:GO. And we're like, oh, really? That's like, oh, well, but instead of actually going, oh, really, yeah, hello, etc etc, we were like, like, let's hang on, let's get the name of the software. So we got the name of the software from the guy, literally researched it, and it literally came up like, hacks include CS:GO, all the usual things, like, Call of Duty, and the fucking game that we were playing was right there, and we were just like, motherfucker. So
yeah,
those people are just those people who just seem to be too good. You have to kind of think about that.
and there's always those people out there, but hopefully, and I think that they're cultivating a pretty positive group of testers, to
Seems to be
to get to the bottom of everything. Find it, report it, fix it. The only way you can fix it is if you know it exists. And it's a difficult thing to, some of them can be easy to find, like, that's some pretty automated things to be like, check every hour if an individual's net worth raises over $1 million credits. Okay, it's a simple database query at that point to raise red flags, but at the same time, like, you might not think that, that system seems like it works fine, like we've tested all kinds of other things, and then some random person sits there and does like the dumbest thing possible and goes, well, what about a negative number? What?
why would you do that?
Why would you try and give somebody negative money? Like,
it's like why would you put in a Java string query into that? Like, it's this, all of these weird kind of things that you could potentially do into a bot that can accept like numbers and letters and stuff like that. Like, but yeah.
yeah.
Clearly somebody didn't realize putting a negative number in there might be bad.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things that as a developer, you can only think of so many different things before you have to kind of crowdsource things and go, somebody find how to break this. And that's the purpose of the alpha. Now, say what you will about the NDA, but then there's plenty of people that have told me exactly in explicit terms what they think of the NDA. But it's there because you don't. My best example of when I talk about the NDA is that the NDA is the equivalent of me turning in your homework before you're done with it.
Yeah. But not just that, Ace. It's you hacking in and turning in the work of, like, pretending to be me.
Yeah. Now the other part of it is we got time. Like we got month plus till beta, and we got a month plus from there till launch. And one thing that I feel like needs to be like understood better by the community is the size of the New World team. So a lot of people have this, impression that the New World team is this small indie group. It is nowhere near a small indie group. And the reason I'm like doing this and taking forever to do it is because I'm loading up an image in the background, and I'm going to down the video for a second. This is the team coming out of 2018, so 2 years ago. This is January 1st, 2018. Now, for those that want to take the time, you can go ahead and count it. But for those that don't want to take the time, there's about 100 people there. That was 2 years ago. So when you think about what these people do on a day-to-day basis, and how much work can be done by 100 people in a month of 40-hour plus work weeks, because of they're pushing for launch. They're not just working 40s. Some of these guys, you can reach out to them in the middle of the friggin' night and they still get back to you in 5 minutes, and it's like, what the heck, and a number of times that's happened where I've been like, how in the hell are these people still awake? And I remember they're also on the East Coast, but 4 o'clock in the morning for me is still late for them. But I've showed enough of that. You guys want to see the video? Boom, back up. So now I also want to talk about the delay for COVID, because a lot of people don't understand this, and until you've been in a management position where you've got to manage a team of 100 plus people, you don't get it until you actually have to understand it. Like, your highest performer in the office might not be your highest performer when they have to work from home. Your highest performer when they normally, under normal conditions, get to telework, a day or two a week, might not be your highest performer anymore when suddenly they have 3 kids at home with them, when normally their telework was, uninterrupted. Or they might be sharing their office now with a spouse who's also home, and they've got the kids, and they've got the dog, and they've got, X, Y, and Z going on. So naturally there's going to be slowdowns. There's also jobs that are fundamentally like social, that change, and they take time to adapt, take time to bring in new policy, take time to do those kind of things. And when you suddenly flip the switch of 100% telework for everyone, is it going to throw a 2-month delay? It might. It could.
You also have to remember bottlenecks as well.
Yeah. The other side of this is, if you're gonna pull a delay, let's say, let's grant 20% of the Reddit's the subreddit's viewpoint of oh, they didn't need that much time. That doesn't count for the whole delay. Let's grant that premise. Let's say you find an error, or let's say you find a string of things you want to work on that under the current setup you just couldn't really do, like you just didn't have the time to get it in. But you're already in the process of reevaluating that launch date. Hey, if we give ourselves a little bit more time, we can add this in, and the experience is going to be X amount more better. So adding in the cost-benefit analysis of, hey, this is going to be better in the long run. Let's just do it. So yes, maybe they added more time than they needed to do what they initially thought they needed to do. But I would argue that that's not a bad thing. And I would also argue that Miyamoto from Nintendo says best. A rushed game is always bad. Is forever bad. Sorry, messed up the quote. So that I think is a pretty important aspect of things. So one of the other things I promised today was community reaction. So how did the community like what they saw? So I can tell you that when they released the Combat Evolved trailer, for those that don't know, I'm also one of the moderators for r-New World Game, the subreddit. The subreddit exploded. Like, just literally, just everyone and their mother was just furious. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, that was a great trailer. Like, there's so many things that like I can relate to because I've seen them. A lot of other people are sitting there going, oh my god, I just want freaking gameplay. I want to see how this game plays. Like, enough of the camera angles and the sweeping and like the Michael Bay cuts. Like, I want to see the game.
Yeah, the funny thing is, right, that gameplay trailer was not for you guys.
Yeah. It's not for the people that haven't started. It's for the people who are like just seeing it and going, oh my god, that's awesome. That's gonna be cool. Yeah, and then they start looking deep.
That trailer was not there for the people who are avid, like, watchers of every single piece of content that comes out of Amazon Games, sort of like sort of media accounts, right? Like, it's literally there as a check this out, for people who may have been watching that thing for for updates on a game that they were interested in, and had nothing to do with New World. Like, but they they were there and they saw New World, and maybe they're interested in it now. That was the audience that they were going for on that particular one.
Exactly. Now the other thing is they needed a new video to go and put out on their ad campaigns. So that's another purpose for that video, is it's going to start driving people into, hey, come take a look at this game. This is gonna be interesting. This is gonna be big. Like, let's do this. But that's what that was for. Now, the other part of it was, I had been trying to communicate to the subreddit that, hey, there's more to come. Like, anybody who saw the announcement for IGN is sitting there like, hey, guys, like, the PC Gamer thing, yeah, that's great, but, like, the big one, like, that's got the developer interview, that's got, the exclusive war game, war video, which... For reference, for the people that are in the channel here, I don't know how many are still here versus ones that just came back or just coming in. The reason we can say we have an exclusive video is that we were able to harvest a video that was supposed to be posted, or that was originally posted IGN before it was pulled back down because they posted the wrong video file. We managed to harvest that video, and it is substantially different than what is posted on IGN's page and site. So that's why we're saying, hey, we got exclusive stuff here.
It does have content from the same battle, but it is different. It's like watching like the extended director's cut or something.
Mm-hmm.
They will have you have like watching Lord of the Rings extended edition cuts, right? Like, how much more content is in there? Yeah, fair amount.
Yes. Now, we also had to go through a whole agreement process on this, like, that literally, like, there's a reason we've made edits to this video in the way that we have in order to abide by requests. Because although we scraped it off a public source, it is technically alpha gameplay. So we had to have permission to post this. Even though some of the clips in this are identical to the ones in the released footage, some of the clips are exclusive to this. and there's several minutes of exclusive stuff here.
Yep. I hope you guys kind of like. I don't know. Actually, no. I shouldn't really. I was gonna ask actually, like whether people like the logo or not, but yeah, no.
Oh no. Let's see what they say. What do you guys think of the
Yeah,
logo?
Just let us know in in Twitch, or if you're listening or watching this on YouTube, then comment about it if you like it or not, what you think of it.
We're potentially, we're looking at changing up our appearance and getting some solid branding out. So every bit of information from you guys helps us steer the boat. So
that said, if you're good at animation, that'd be really let us know if you want to do some cool stuff.
Yes, if you guys want to get involved, we also have a Discord. If you don't want to talk to us, I totally get it, because we talk all day and
talk random shit.
I get it.
We do talk a load of crap sometimes.
we do talk about some truly random stuff in here. That said, if you want to keep up to date on news, want to keep up to date on pictures and media from the game, we have the largest database of that information and the pictures and videos and all of that on our Discord, that you, in some cases, you actually can't get it anywhere else. So we don't just have, hey, exclusive video today. We've got videos that, unless your Google foo and your ability to coax information out of people is just completely up to par, you ain't gonna get some of this stuff. Like we've got the 2016 original videos that were posted to YouTube and withdrawn from YouTube. So unless you pulled them while they were up, you don't have them. Like the original view of what the game should look like, and it's pretty substantially different. Even my dog agrees. He's all grumpy because we took an hour-long walk. He's all sore and stuff. Yeah, I'm talking about you.
So no, it's just having flashbacks to Anchorman. That's all, man. It's all good.
Oh, so going back to another thing, I want to talk about the community reaction to the videos that came. So obviously, we talked about hey, the Combat Evolved trailer. The community just lost their shit. But what about this one? What about the IGN exclusive war videos? What about the developer interviews? What about those? What has the reaction been? And someone else actually posted on the subreddit, and I'm going to flip the video off, and we're going to look at the subreddit here. This is our New World game, where a poll was drafted over a couple of days since the information came out from IGN, and this is what it looks like. Now, obviously, you can see what I voted for. You can tell I'm, obviously a fan of the game. I think that it's good for an alpha. I think that there's some performance stuff that could use some improvements. Obviously, we're seeing some frame rate type stuff in the video, and some other stuff that could take a look. But does it look good for an alpha? 307. So the majority, by a wide margin, says yes, this is good for an alpha.
And not gonna lie, when we were watching it live, I know both of us kind of said, God, they could have done a little bit better on actually capturing it, one for one, at a really decent at a really decent sort of bit rate. So I think that it probably looks better than it looked on those videos. So yeah,
so
something to bear in mind.
The other side of this is you guys are seeing the mod view of this, so you can see some additional icons that you normally can't see. So there's that. But so the other side of this is, what weapons are people looking forward to? Which weapon are you most excited about? Now, I think that this is slightly unfair because, and I don't want to give Harry Potter OP crap for this, but as somebody with a degree in political science, I can tell you that when it comes to polls, you need to maintain consistency. Bows, muskets, and pistols are in the lead. However, the issue with this poll, in my opinion, is that all of the other categories are single things, with the exception of the stabs, which is fire and light. So,
I mean, I don't see I don't see nunchucks in there, so like, you know, I kind of feel like there should be a missing one. There should be nunchucks in there as well.
Yeah. So now, what's interesting here is this does show, you know, hey, clear preference. You know, hey, you got 89 people that are like, hey, I want range, but you also got, you know, swords that if you add up all of the melee, the swords, the spears, and the hammers, and the maces, that's a clear majority. But you know, you've got kind of an interesting, you know, rotation between the three here. I did think that it was highly interesting that almost no one is interested in the maces. So, you know, that is what it is. We'll leave it at that.
Well, can only know why that might be the case.
Just happened there.
You having some jip on the
Streamlabs
OBS
just
there?
like, I swear it only times you out for 1 second. I don't know what
yeah.
I don't know what you said, so I gotta look at the log and I can't pull it up when I'm doing this.
I can read it. So Robodog said, didn't the German interview say that spears, pistols, and assumingly maces are not in the game despite earlier media showing spears and pistols?
So I wanna show something about spears, because I did the work and went frame by frame by frame, and of course, so now that right there is in the video. That is a spear. Now, for those of you that are like, no, that's clearly a bolt shot out of a ballista. It is not. Let me show you why. Because I also have this. When I say that I have every piece of art, I mean that I have every piece of art. The Streamlabs sensor is basically set to like NYPD level, like triggered cop. So like, I apologize if it improperly abuses the audience or unprovoked aggression from the bot. My bad.
If you feel like your First Amendment rights are being abused by Streamlabs bot, then you know, we could only apologize.
Yeah, that's yeah. It is very impressive, and I'm trying to figure out how it works, because it's, you know, it is what it is. I'm trying to figure it out. It is a complicated system. I wish it was easier than.
The strangest thing is, Ace, right? When you tell a moderator to be like, you know, just you know, let the you know, let the conversation, carry on normal, and just, if someone's being egregious, or someone's being really, really abusive, or, being really, really, forceful about, this, that, the other, then, clamp down on that. But you can't tell that to a bot. Like, that's not how bots work. They don't go, oh, I have a degree of intelligence. Yes, I'll be able to discern this myself. No, it's like really rigid rules that you have to kind of determine. And like, you can, there's just so many, and you have to kind of go through them and try and figure them out. But like, we'll slowly be tailoring that, like, curtailing that bot backwards until it's not oppressive, but just right.
Till I don't have to promise, substantial reforms and defund the Streamlabs bot. So I threw the video back up because obviously there's, that's what people want to see. You don't want to see the stills. You've been looking at the stills for months. If you guys want to see the stills, I'm gonna keep plugging this because it's where it's at. Join our Discord. Like, I know it's like, I don't want to talk to people. If you don't want to talk to us, fine. Just sit there and surf the art. Totally worthwhile. So the interview might say there was no spears, but simply put, that was from their video. So
yeah,
that asset doesn't come out of nowhere. Now, you are correct that no players actually wielded a spear in the video. That said, somebody threw a spear, because I caught that image from that video. And
yeah, it was legit.
Yeah. Now, So I'm gonna show 3 images again, because this is important. Like, this is really important. They might not think that a spear was on field, but there definitely was, and that's on them if they say not. Now, we're gonna scroll in as far as possible. Now, you can see on the one end, you got the flared tip, with the crossbar below that. It goes down, connects to the wood, goes down to the other end, and you get another pointy end on the other end. All right. Same image, or same thing. That right there is a tier 4 staff. Same exact, flared end, crossed, same cross piece.
So the tier,
same setup. That is a tier 4 spear.
The tiers go from top to bottom, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes. Now, here's the other thing. In other art, they have had spears. I'm going to pull up a video here.
Our combat system is 100% like MMO.
For those in the back. See that guy in the back there? That looks like that, doesn't it? Looks like that bottom one. Now, what it doesn't look like is the bolt coming out of that ballista. So they might say that there were no spears there, but one of their devs had a spear. I don't know who, but it was there.
You just imagine who the fuck threw a spear? Jesus Christ, who told you not to equip a spear?
Now, here's the thing. It's been in so many other things. Like, they can't hide it. The spear is there. People love the spear. It's freaking beautiful.
Of course,
just
we love
let
the
it
spear.
happen, Amazon. You got 2 months to get that thing in. Just make it a thing.
I mean, how many people have fucking watched, say things like 300 and been like, yes, fucking spear. Give me a spear so I can flail on people and fucking throw it and fucking jab it at people. Of course people want spears. It's like the quintessential, like, classic kind of weapon.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's one thing to note. With that, I think we don't. I'm gonna let the video kind of play through once, because that's why people are here. We talked about the community reaction. We talked about what they clearly wanted. They wanted to see gameplay. We talked about, okay, hey, clearly they want to see spears, they want to see swords, they want to, they want to see combat, which is great. We talked about the alpha, which is great. We talked and the mentality of going into the alpha. We talked about the some of the bugs. We talked about some bits from an interview. So kind of been a jam-packed episode here. I'm trying to think if we have anything else to cover.
I was kind of going through the interview kind of thing, just picking out some like very particular bits to it. Like I don't know. I don't know. Like there's a few things that I think we haven't quite covered. That was in the Azure Online interview, as it were. Part of it's lore, part of it's to do with like crafting and server size. I don't know if you want to go through it real quick.
So on the lore side, they have said that they're not going to be releasing everything ahead of time. Like, obviously, you want there to be mystery. You don't want people to understand everything. You want there to be a sense of discovery. That's clearly what they're going for.
And the thing is, I think some of the stuff that we were basically saying or speculating on, some of the actual answers that Scott Lane has said in this interview has kind of alluded to that a little bit more as well, because when talking about the lore as well, obviously he said that that they're not going to put everything on the table right now and that they're going to save a few good things for later. But they also said that, like, that we have to take into account that it's a big island, very tall, huge even, and that he expects it to grow over time. You will discover more and more over time. So, I mean, he almost says like the island will grow over time. And while I don't think he means like literally the island will like, grow in size, I think we'll be like over time we'll be able to access more and more of the island.
I think that's reasonable. And I think it gives them an opportunity to expand the world, create new content. With it being open world, it means to add new content, you really have to expand.
The nice kind of thing. One of the last things on this particular part that he said was that regarding the lore and how you find the lore and how you interpret the lore is he says the stories are always different depending on the book you read or who wrote it, and it's up to you to put the puzzles together in Eternum. So like essentially it's going to be you're going to get fragments of of the lore in here, there and everywhere when you're obviously sort of going through the world in some way, shape or form. So you're going to have to basically pick these bits up and sort of put them together, and maybe there might be some interesting kind of scenarios or situations you can get yourself into if you collect the right kind of things and fit the pieces together. Who knows?
Oh yeah.
Could be some Indiana Jones style shit there.
Oh yeah. And there's I think there's some other sides to this as well, that like we saw recently that there potentially some different ships specifically that we haven't seen before. There was an image released on their Twitter about a week ago now, of a wrecked Viking ship. So I think that's an interesting direction that they could go. We haven't seen Vikings in any of the concept art that's been released or anything. So that's a potential direction. One of the other things to note is that in the final scene with the trailer, when it goes to zoom in over the shoulder of Isabella, you see a whole bunch of ships down below, sails. And those sails are very clearly like fin sails. And those fin sails and the fin designs are uniquely Asian. So it's a very interesting, the reef pattern and all of that is very like, hey, this is another potential route they could take. They could add in just about any culture that they want and make it into the game. Like, there's a lot that they could go with. Gives them a lot of room to expand, not just the island, but the lore, but the different enemies, and add new factions and stuff like that, and add new and challenging bosses and stuff. There's a lot more to it than.
I thought it was kind of fitting, like having that was it screenshot of the Viking boat there, because sort of not too long after, we had the whole Assassin's Creed kind of Valhalla like release. Well, not release, but like the sort of like cinematic kind of trailer release of that. And everyone was like super hyped, like, oh yeah, we get to play, Vikings, that kind of thing. And to be fair, I know a few people who are like, real kind of geeks when it comes to sort of Viking mythology and sort of like Viking sort of warfare tactics and stuff like that. And they were going like, oh my god, if I can't throw a spear in Valhalla, like, then it's gonna be, it's gonna be a game breaker, man. Like, because it's like that they did that, like it was a legit thing that they did, back in the day. And just saying, throwing spears, we definitely saw what looked to be a very thrown style spear, and
definitely wasn't being held by somebody.
Yeah, exactly. And we've got axes which seem to be able to be thrown as well, so like, I mean, seems to all be in the cards. We just need we just haven't seen any specific Viking artwork, but all in good time, I imagine.
So the other side of this is that they also, at the very end of this interview, they talk about the marketing and advertising for the game, and Scott hands it over to someone named Rebecca. Rebecca says, "I can tell you that our marketing team has a lot planned, but as Scott said, the challenge is the first day. We're more interested in creating a game that will attract players over time rather than having a large advertising presence. That said, you're going to see things speed up over the next few months with advertising and marketing, which makes sense. You're going into the home stretch. You got a month left until you're in beta. Then you're going to really start trying to cook to get people not just into the beta, but hey, you got launch. How many people can we get in on launch? So I think that's going to be pretty big." So, with that, that's the full video. I'm going to show you guys a quick image, just to remind you yours exist, and then we're gonna call it. I want to thank you guys for watching, and we will see you in the new world.